There he is, the boss dog. The old battle axe takes him back on Sunday. I miss him, I tell you what. A lot of work, though. I don't know how people take care of like 3 dogs, man. I can barely take care of this little guy. Watching the world burn, March 12th, 2025. Let's get into it. Since I know a lot of you only watch the beginning of my videos, those few that do, answer me one question. I was trying to post a video on republic.us, which, you know, I was hoping that that service was going to really take off, and it's still pretty good, but it's really not getting the viewers it's not getting the traffic or the views or the popularity or anything like that for the price, which is $120 a year. So I don't know. If you're a patriot, maybe go there and, you know, contribute to the cause, because I think that's more or less the way you got to look at it, is you're just making a contribution to our country, our choice, more or less. But anyway, what happened was I have a link to my Twitter account on there. Let me adjust the camera just a little bit. There we go. Get my big mug centered on the thing. And what I noticed, it kept saying bad link. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about, bad link? So finally, in frustration, I just put my YouTube channel link up, you know, in place of the Twitter link, and boom, published right through. And I said, I wonder if there's some problem with my X link. And so as an experiment, you know, because I'm logged into X all the time, and usually if I'm going to look at X, I'm just going to, you know, always log in first. And, you know, and then of course the link always works when I'm logged in. So I said, well, wait a minute, maybe it's because, you know, when you're not logged in. So I didn't log in, and I went to my link, and it brought up posts from 2023. That's it. From 2023 on back. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So maybe somebody answer this question. Maybe you can't look at somebody's Twitter post since December of 2023. Maybe, was that around the time, I guess, when Elon might have taken over, that you have to be logged in, or you have to have an account at Twitter to be able to see the posts? Let me know, because I can't look at it when I'm logged out, that is. And so I've got to take that link off of all my all my social media, because, you know, most people, I don't want to say most, but a lot of people don't have X accounts, and I don't want to be posting a link that people go to and they're reading my post from from December of 2023. I sent Elon, I posted, and I said, am I being censored? Because, you know, I was under review on X for a while for what I don't know. And then, of course, just recently I got out of the doghouse, and they said, you know, we've conducted our review and you're okay. I don't know. And then I thought, well, maybe they didn't flip a flag in the database when they said I was okay. So anyway, let me know. I'm sorry to hit you up with that on the front end of the video, but I unless I get somebody else that is not on X to take the look at that link, then, you know, I don't know. All right, so let's get in to the video. What'd you think of the upfront clip? That was hilarious, wasn't it? I wouldn't suggest running somebody over, but you know what? I would just, you know, wouldn't you love to do that in that situation? I mean, if you just knew that you weren't going to get in trouble, because, you know, with all the cameras these days, they're going to get your license plate, and they could, I'm sure that especially in a Democrat state, they're going to come back and accuse you of assault with a car, which can be a deadly weapon. We've seen that many times, especially what happened in New Orleans a while back, you know. So, but anyway, I just thought that was funny, because, you know, we've seen the videos over in Europe where or even in, I think it was some in California, where the drivers get out of the cars and they pull the protesters off the road and just toss them up on the sidewalk. And then of course, the protesters try to crawl back into the road, you know, but that's the first time I've ever seen somebody try to run them over. I'm sorry, I shouldn't find that funny, should I? I mean, what do you think? Do you find it funny? All right, so anyway, let's, we're going to get into, I hate doing it. I hate doing it. We got to get into the Ukraine war in this video again. I got another great video, if I can find it, of the tunnel. And, I was talking about that in my last video about, what that would be like, hiking. And it was more than 6 kilometers. It was even further. I can't, well, if I find the video, I'll tell you what the distance was. And anyway, but it gives you a lot more perspective of what it was like in that tunnel as they marched all the way through it to come up behind the Ukrainians. And we're going to talk about what's going on. They've taken the entire city of, I can't remember the name of it, starts with an S, Sudzha or something like that. I'll read it to you. We're going to get into the reading part of the video here in just a minute. But anyway, what the Russians are going to post out, from my understanding, is there was a lot of atrocities committed on the civilians by the Ukrainians, according to the Russians. And they're going to put up video footage of murders of women and kids and old people. If you want to believe the Russians, a lot of people go, "Oh, this is Russian propaganda. It's Russian propaganda." Well, whatever. And so on that topic, I wanted to just talk about Trump is all over the place. I don't know what the hell's going on. They come out of that meeting and they say they're going to do a ceasefire. And so I was, I went crazy. I was posting all around on X. I was going, there's no way in hell they're going that Russia's going to agree to a ceasefire. And so, I said, that's just a non-starter. And if you don't believe me, watch, and I won't rain on his parade. And plus, Judge Napolitano, he's real particular about stealing any material from his videos. And plus, I wouldn't want to rain on his parade because he did all the hard work. He went over to Russia and sat down for a 2-hour interview with Lavrov. Have you ever seen Lavrov? Doesn't he look like that grandfather that you always wanted? I mean, like a teddy bear, man. I mean, and the way he talks and everything, he's so nice. And he's the ultimate diplomat. I mean, he's probably the best diplomat in my lifetime that I've ever seen. But anyway, so they had a 2-hour interview, and Napolitano is going to publish that today. I encourage you to go watch that, because that'll give you a perspective on how stupid a ceasefire is. He tells you right there. He says this is our position for these are the terms that have to be met before we'll even consider a peace plan. Plus, with Russia making huge advances up in the Kursk region, why would they agree to a ceasefire? And of course not. And then Trump says that we're giving them intel and we're giving them weapons again. So by doing a ceasefire, we're going to sit there and weapon up Ukraine. They'll have time, to give their soldiers a months-long rest, because they certainly need it, and then allow the logistics to bring all those weapons forward that the United States is providing for an entire month. Who in their right mind would agree to something like that? I don't even have to be Russian to know that I wouldn't agree to that. I mean, that's just. Anyway, watch the Lavrov thing, and he breaks it all down. I mean, I'm sure that if you follow the war at all, you know all the conditions that the Russians have set. No entry in NATO. They're going to keep the territories that they've already taken. They're I don't know. Just watch it. The other crazy thing was what was the other one that Trump came out with was the ceasefire. Well, then you had that crazy day with I don't know if you saw it with Trump and Elon with the Tesla. Watching Trump try to get in that Tesla. Trump's a big dude, man. I guess that's kind of a smaller car, so he was having a tough time getting in the car. But anyway, what the part that came out of that conversation was he goes, he threatened Russia again. He said, "Oh, we're going to sanction the hell out of them. We're going to destroy their economy." You can't put any more sanctions on Russia, man. I mean, Biden, even on his way out, Biden increased the sanctions. I mean, all the oligarchs in Russia are sanctioned. They can't even travel out of Russia, that's why the Russian economy is doing so good, because they had to keep all their money in Russia, because they were sanctioned to be able to spend their money anyplace else. Think about it. Suppose China sanctioned Elon Musk, and said, oh, Elon, you can't spend any more money in China, or Apple for that matter, or whatever. Well, they're going to bring the money back to the United States. What else? What other choice have they got? So the sanctions have completely backfired. And so I don't know what Trump is thinking about it. There's no more that he can do to Russia that hasn't already been done, in my opinion. Now, he says he's going to lower the price of gas, which, by the way, it has come down a little bit. We're down to $3 a gallon is what I heard, somewhere around in there for an average. The other crazy thing was the inflation numbers. If you haven't been following, I didn't even think this was possible. But the inflation numbers came out at just between 1% and 2%. I mean, I understand Elon's doing a great job cutting everything that he can possibly cut, when the Doge number's up there. But why on earth would that bring inflation down? I don't know. Sometimes I guess, I just don't know about these things. It's kind of like, you take something for granted because I told you, the stock market went down, but I don't understand with the inflation numbers down, you think the stock market would be going up. I mean, the stock market makes no sense to me whatsoever. There's no way to predict other than I knew that if we kept going further and further into debt and you start getting banks failing and the country bankrupts, that the stock market was going to crash. Maybe we're going to avoid that. Who knows? So trying to be positive here, and I'm just a negative type of dude with everything that I present to you. So let's get back to the reading. I was going to show you a video by Lavrov, but anyway, it was in Russian. He was speaking Russian, and I was going like, man, I had a hard time with watching it myself. I won't torture you with that. I just told you to just go to Judge Napolitano. Was there anything else that I can think of? Oh yeah, well we're gonna get on this. Remember that sermon that Trump? Because if you watch my last video, I talked about how the Catholic Church was trafficking kids and making a huge amount of money doing that because of the NGOs that were paying them, through the Biden administration and USAID. And so I was telling you, if you're going to give money to your church, make sure your church ain't evil. That to me, that's pure evil, man. If you're Catholic, you should have been up in arms, sending letters to the Pope or something and saying, look, man, we're trafficking, we're doing all this human trafficking, we're making a ton of money doing it, but this ain't right. That's not a Christian thing that should be getting done, right? I mean, but now I think that was an Episcopalian church that Trump went to right after he was, sworn in. And remember, she gave that sermon and criticized him for illegal aliens. Well, wait till you get to the story because they found a bunch of money that went to her for trafficking illegal aliens. We'll get to that in just a minute. We got some good clips coming in this video. Like I told you, the tunnel one. Well, let's watch the tunnel clip right now.
Настоящие герои, не просто герои. Герои нашего времени, былинные герои. Это, конечно, очень секретная была операция. Знали те, кто там копает, естественно, и кто обслуживал, кто таскал там все эти провиант, там, запасы, все такое. Сколько? Метров 500. Идите голову.
О, здорово, мужики, еще раз.
Как вот?
Почти добрались мы до командного пункта, до командиров, которые планировали и организовывали эту операцию. Чтобы дойти, нужно достаточно продолжительный путь проделать под землей. Мы видим здесь ростовые окопы. Вот Леонид нам говорит, что час-полтора перерыва от обстрелов — это уже очень-очень хорошо. Так здесь очень интенсивно. Было прилет каждые 10-15 минут. Но сейчас чуть-чуть попроще. После той самой 8-мартовской операции. Че, пацаны, как работается, а?
Нормально.
Че с кислородом? Я слышал,
Бывает проблема.
кашляешь постоянно. Насколько сильно вообще это вот дырки эти вентиляционные спасают?
Очень достаточно. Выручает.
Слушай, а пацаны, когда шли, вот колонну, как колонны цепью шли, они прям останавливались по очереди дышат, да, как вот было задумано?
Нет, они проходили, они шли группами, вот 5 человек примерно, дистанцию держали, также метров 10. Когда останавливались, они расходились, каждый друг от друга на 2 метра. Там были ячейки связные, сидели, они объясняли им, что надо через каждые там 2 метра держать дистанцию, чтобы можно было легче дышать.
Ну как ты прошел эту подготовку, скажи?
Божья помощь.
Пойдем подальше, пойдем. Подальше, чтобы не было света. Вот она труба, та самая легендарная. Дистанция марша по трубе достигала в районе около 15 километров. 15-14 плюс-минус. Маршрут, сразу скажу, абсолютно не сахарный. Каждый боец, который прошел этим маршрутом, он настоящий герой, потому что это было невероятно сложное испытание. Мало того, что ты должен донести себя в пользу зю, потому что, вот я сейчас вам покажу, я маленького роста, я еще себя более-менее комфортно чувствую. Вот в такой позе долго ты идти не сможешь, очень забивается и колесем ноги. Вот парни прошли этим маршрутом.
Когда выходили черное, вот здесь вот еще испарение.
Да. Вот, просто для понимания, вот чистый палец более-менее. Вот.
То есть, Тимцев, вот ты говорил про вентиляцию.
Да. Вот так вот. Вот такие дырочки делали, еще из них дышали.
А что там дальше? Там дышать еще сложнее, да?
Нет, там сейчас не настолько сложно дышать, там нормально дышится. Просто есть участки, которые, чуть-чуть тяжеловато. Там чуть присядешь, передышишь и дальше идешь. Нету такого, чтобы там прям задыхаешься.
Да, вот эти вот провода,
Там
это что?
эти крючки устанавливали, делали их. Устанавливали, смеси такой. И по снабжению воду, провизию, БК, все туда вот на таких телегах привозили.
А как это все складывалось? Смотри, когда там столько пацанов сидело, там больше 100-200 человек.
Изначально туда заготавливали, то что перед тем, как они заходили, мы все туда завозили.
Там стояли коробы этих продуктов, и они еще, то есть, тут и так как бы не очень удобно в бронике с амуницией, а так им еще приходилось обходить вот эти вот...
Да, им приходилось, это было очень тяжело, на самом деле, когда мы ехали с провизией, они через нас, им приходилось перелазить, чтобы нам быстрее можно было туда доехать, добраться. Ребята все относились с пониманием, помогали друг другу.
Так, как ты передвигаешься?
Передвигаемся на этой тачанке задним ходом.
Ты качаешь ее или как ты едешь?
Нет, можешь управление. Вот он газ вот здесь вот. Переключаешь. Здесь передний ход и задний ход.
Такие вот руки после трубы. Конденсат, оставшийся газ, еще не выпарившийся, он не может выпариться, потому что все находится под землей, кислород туда практически никоим образом не поступал. Но мы видим то, что наши ребята героически, просто героически выполняли эту задачу, понимая, что она может стать поворотной, просто исторической в этой новой Курской битве.
Наступали все, кто присутствует на Курском направлении.
То больше батальона высыпалось в тыл, да, врага?
Да, больше батальона. У нас высыпалось несколько сотен, точное количество говорить, понятное дело, я не буду, которые тут же поделились и в тактике того самого цветка августа прошлого месяца раскрылись в тылу противника и начали штурм. Вот выход, соответственно, из линии, откуда мы шли, 16 километров.
16 километров нужно было пройти после того, как вышли из трубы.
Нет, это 16 километров надо было пройти по трубе.
Так.
Потом 2,5 километра надо было пройти вдоль железной дороги до лесополки. Здесь занять линию окопов и опорники, что мы делали совместно с 30-м полком. Оттуда выпрыгивать, брать Кубаткина, от Кубаткина расходиться на две стороны, брать под контроль оба моста, не допускать противника из-за Зуливки в сторону входа в трубу. Фактически ребята, находясь в полном окружении, это 30-я МСП, группа АИДа спецназа «Ахмат», 11-я бригада, бригада ветераны, бригада «Восток» прошли в тыл в полном круговом окружении, потому что у нас Везде по направлениям был противник. Они заняли по установленной задаче участки, заняли круговую оборону и удерживали до прихода новых соединений. Сегодня утром к нам пробились с одного фланга 155-я гвардейская бригада морской пехоты, с другого фланга остальные батальоны 30-го полка и Ахмата. Мы все соединились в Зазуревке и начинаем штурм населенного пункта Суджа.
То есть, как только взорвали проходы, мы самые первые были, кто устремился на противника. Противник встретил нас в трусах и тапочках. Да.
Okay, so that's the tunnel clip. And then we're going to get into some more war footage of the Russians blowing up Ukrainians. Like I said, I only show you this not to disturb you, but to just say, look at what's taking place. And of course, the media is going on, you know, like, oh, you know, the Russians are on their last foot. The Russians' economy is in the hole. I don't know where they get they're gaslighting you, man. That's propaganda. All right, let's get into the sit down and reading portion of the video. All right. Well, there's two other things I forgot. One is the Elon's going up to rescue those astronauts that the Biden administration left on the space station, and let's all pray for success. What's going to infuriate me is if, for whatever reason, it's not successful, that if you got a Democrat neighbor, they'll be cheering that on. So I think that's wrong. Anyway, so there's that. And I'll think of the other one here in a minute. So let's get into the reading portion of the video here. So this is Big Surge, and he's got a good video here. I told you we were going to show some war footage. The Ukrainians are claiming an orderly withdrawal from Kursk. While the footage is showing the road out of, and this is, I got the spelling here now, it's right, you're seeing it, Sudzha, Sudzha, littered with destroyed vehicles, not even passable for road traffic at this point. You know, the disturbing part is every one of those vehicles probably had troops in them. Unbelievable. We got to bring this into a head. Let's watch that video.
Это, которые выезжали? Да. Прикольно прочитал. А тут и выезжали, заезжали, пытались, которые проехать техникой сюда на Суджу.
Alrighty, this is Jim Ferguson. If you don't follow Jim Ferguson on X, he's got some really good posts. And I just thought this was good because it's more on Ukraine, just from a different angle. The EU wants war with Russia, and they're crushing any leader who stands in their way. The European Union has made one thing clear. They do not care about democracy. They do not care what the people of any nation want. They only care about maintaining control, pushing their war agenda, and silencing anyone who dares to resist. Boy, it sounds like the Democrats, doesn't it? Oh, man. All right, so, or the Biden administration, well, the Senate Democrats. Oh, speaking of the Senate Democrats, it looks like the House continuing resolution is not going to get any traction, because unless you have some Senate Democrats that vote for it, the government's going to shut down here in about a week. I'm all for it. Just let the government shut down, and it'll be the Democrats' fault. Remember when the Democrats used to try to make it the Republicans' fault every single time? And now this time it'll be the Democrats' fault that the government shut down. And get this, the reason that they won't pass it is because it doesn't spend enough money. They got us $37 trillion in debt, and they still want us to go further in debt. You got a Democrat neighbor, maybe point that out to them sometime. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, I remember it was, what was it, 80% of the people. I knew the other thing I wanted to talk about was Elon Musk did a survey on daylight savings time. And I don't know how you feel, but I mean, this was a mind-blowing event for me, okay? Because I thought everybody would want an extra hour in the evening of daylight. I mean, who in the hell wants an extra hour of daylight in the morning? But the survey was damn close. It was like 52 to 48%. More people wanted it at the extra hour in the evening, you know, and I've been an advocate for getting rid of daylight savings time because I think it's disruptive and stupid, and I want that extra hour in the evening. But it was quite shocking to me how many wanted the extra hour in the morning. I just thought that was an interesting factoid because, you know, sometimes we have our tunnel vision or perspective on something and, you know, we're locked in on this. And then all of a sudden you find out, you know, maybe that you weren't wrong, but your perspective was a little bit off. So let's keep going. Romania, the last casualty in the EU's power grab. Cullen, I won't try to pronounce, Georgiou, the People's Choice, was banned from running for president because he refused to be a puppet of Brussels. His crime, opposing the EU's march toward war with Russia. Now Romania will be forced to comply whether its citizens want to or not. This is not just about Romania. This is about the EU's new playbook. They rig elections. They blacklist candidates who refuse to obey. They crush national sovereignty under the boot of their unelected bureaucrats. Man, we could just we could just put the word Democrat in place of EU, don't you think? I mean, it's almost, they talk about democracy, but trample all over it whenever a nation refuses to fall in line. The will of the people means nothing to them. They are not elected by the public. They dictate policies, destroy economies, and now push Europe closer to war. I just thought that was a very good post, and it sounded just like a Democrat. So, and this is interesting. In case someone says Trump started the tariffs, here are Canadian tariffs on U.S. products that existed prior to 2025. Now, I wanted to talk about tariffs because the Democrats are talking about, oh my God, Trump's going to put tariffs. These are called, the tariffs he's talking about called reciprocal tariffs. Okay, so if Canada puts a 200% tariff on eggs being imported, but we get the eggs, you know, with no tariff here in the United States, that's not fair. That's not free and fair trade. So all Trump's saying is, if you're going to tariff us at 200%, we're going to tariff you at 200%. And then we'll see how long the tariffs last. But it'd be free. I mean, at least, you know, it just means that more eggs are going to get sold in the United States. And by the way, Canada and Mexico's economy depend on the United States a whole lot more than we depend on Canada and Mexico. So, you know, but anyway, let's just read through these. I just found this very interesting. Dairy products over USMCA quotas. Milk up to 241%. Cheese up to 245.5%. Butter up to 298.5%. Yogurt up to 237.5%. Cream up to 270%. Poultry over USMCA quotas. Chicken up to 238%. Turkey up to 182%. Poultry fat up to 249%. Eggs and egg products. By the way, I want to talk about eggs for just a minute. The reason why the price is coming down on the eggs is Trump went out and I guess he imported a bunch of eggs into the United States, which cost the taxpayers money. But understand the cause of what your reason your eggs were so high was that the Biden administration killed over 100,000 chickens, all in the name of bird flu. And we still got a problem with the bird flu, but they're taking a more measured and managed approach. There was no reason to kill that many chickens, okay? Yeah, you find the chickens that, you know, or let's say it was one flock and there was, 10 chickens in there that were sick, maybe kill that one, farmer's chickens, and I'm not saying in every building, I'm just talking, because, farmers, they have multiple buildings with the chickens in them. Not the organic, and by the way, buy organic eggs. They're much more tasty and they're better. And cage-free doesn't mean anything. They put cage-free on there, all that means is a bigger cage, okay? You want organic eggs. So anyway, shelled eggs up to 163.5%. Processed eggs up to 238%. Softwood lumber, generally zero on U.S. imports. Export duties applied to Canada to U.S. trade instead. Steel and aluminum, 0% of the USMCA, 25 to 10% tariffs from the 2018 to 2019, expired 2020. Textiles and apparel, let's just keep going. There ain't much left here. 0 to 18% if exceeding I don't know what a TRQ is, or falling origin rules, rare for U.S. goods. Vehicles and parts, 0% under USMCA, up to 6.1% if not meeting the 75% North American content, rare. Cultured Cultural goods, 5 to 10%, e.g. books, films, not meeting Canadian content rules, uncommon for U.S. products. So wasn't that an interesting post? So let's keep going here. So this is more on the Ukraine conflict. Apparently they pushed an entire 45 battalion through 15 kilometers, 50, I told you I was going to get you the number, 15 kilometers of pipeline. And we already watched that pipeline video. Having previously prepared as best they could to ventilate it and presupposition all the necessary logistics for the operation. The Russians will be singing songs about this for generations to come. And then you've already seen I'll just read this to you. Insane footage of and this is the name pipe, Sudzha pipeline operation here, an absolute must watch. It's hard to comprehend the scale and difficulty of this mission. Getting enough oxygen and water into the tunnel, setting up the logistics. Soldiers need ammo, they need food, dealing with the physical challenges, walking 15 kilometers through a narrow tunnel with the low ceiling. You know, the reason I'm reading this to you is because it blew my mind that they actually did this. I mean, these guys are buff, man. They are buff, mentally and physically. You got to think about the mental torment of walking 15 kilometers through a freaking pipe. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. The psychological pressure, the darkness, and yet they sent several hundred soldiers through the tunnel. Everyone always had enough food and water. After exiting the tunnels, the soldiers immediately went on a forced march into battle. They captured several key strong points and set up perimeter defense and held the line until their comrades broke through to them. This was a genuinely superhuman feat, not just the march, not just the sheer amount of soldiers that crossed the pipe, but after going through this nightmare willpower challenge, immediately going into combat and winning, kicking the enemy out of the trenches and strong points, disrupting his logistics, causing chaos and panic in his rear, and then absorbing the pushback from which, while finally encircled on all sides. It's unbelievable, and yet we know it happened. We have the videos. We have seen the map change dramatically over a few days. Again, I absolutely do not believe that men nowadays are somehow less brave or heroic than previous generations. This operation was one for the history books to be talked about in 100 years. I'm tempted to call these men demigods.
Now, Russian soldiers have reportedly conducted an underground operation in the embattled Kursk region to push Ukrainian troops out of the territory. Now, let's get more on this now and speak to RT senior correspondent Murad Gazdiev joining me right now. Murad, it's good to have you join me. Now, what else do we know about this underground operation?
Well, it was certainly daring. Essentially, what happened is this operation, codenamed Flow, Potok in Russian, used an underground gas pipeline, natural gas pipeline that ran from territory controlled by Russian troops into territory controlled by Ukrainian troops. They figured out where it leads, and they sent a few men down there to scout it. Essentially, they realized that they could use it. It was unguarded. They could use it to get behind the Ukrainians. And it took 3 weeks. During those 3 weeks, they had to excavate several points in the pipeline. They had to filter out all the toxins and poisonous air, natural gas, for oxygen, substitute it, and then they had to sort out the logistics. So this is a 15-kilometer march underground. They had to put down there, for example, ammunition, food, water, as well as toilets, all the essentials. And these men spent 4 days underground, 800 men along a stretch of pipeline about 15 kilometers long. More than that, this is a cramped space. It's only about 1.5 meters in diameter. Eventually, they were given the go-ahead once they had reached their destination, where they're presumed to be behind enemy lines. This is in the outskirts of Sudzha, the biggest town in Kursk region that is held by Ukrainian troops. and they essentially burst out of that pipeline. They try to stay quiet at first so as to avoid attention and detection. They managed to do so for a long while. The majority of the men, vast majority, got out and engaged the Ukrainians, and the Ukrainian forces there collapsed. There was outright panic. A slew of settlements, Martinovka, for example, that Ukraine has held on to for many months, has fallen as Ukrainian troops there realized that the Russians were behind their backs, and they ran, abandoning their positions, abandoning their supplies, their vehicles, even their wounded. Many of them surrendered. Overall, about 8 settlements have been seized by Russian troops over the past 3 days, which is, a huge breakthrough given the rate of advance in the Kursk region over the last several months. Essentially, Ukraine is in a desperate position. We reported on this, and now their circumstances have gotten much worse than they were before. Ukrainian High Command has said that, no, this is all organized. We're merely withdrawing to better defensive positions, when it is entirely obvious that in that sector of the front line, on the outskirts of Sudzha, their front lines have well and truly collapsed.
All right, RT's senior correspondent Murad Gazdiev bringing us up to speed here. Thank you.
The enemy, they do what they always do. The pipeline operation caused mixed reactions in the Ukraine camp. It simultaneously never happened, and also the troops that were inside the pipeline were killed immediately upon exiting, and also suffered, all suffocated on the way there, and the front line collapsed because, this is the Ukraine propaganda they're quoting now, well, they haven't been talked about yet, and then it goes on from there. Well, we haven't got much left to read. Let's keep going. They've taken fat, LS, in similar ways twice before. At Tarsa-Yaya, Okhacha, strong point, which contributed to the fall of Avdiivka and near New York. But those ops were small time compared to going dwarf mode like a AIDA lads and the 30 motor rifles did. It's unprecedented, really. I don't know what AIDA stands for. Maybe I can find out. And if every Ukrainian soldier now has nightmares about Russian soldiers coming out of every pipe he sees, well, that's even better. So I just thought that was a hell of a post. This is Insurrection Barbie. And you know what? So if we want to talk about the success of the Trump administration for just 1 second, because I thought this really brought things to light. Gas is down. I already talked about that. Inflation is down. I already talked about that. Eggs are down. I already talked about that. Manufacturing jobs are up. 1.7 trillion pledged in investment in this country. Russia-Ukraine war is, well, I don't know about that. This is Russia-Ukraine war is about to end. That was another piece I wanted to get to was Trump says he's going to talk to Putin later this week. So maybe there's something going on in the background that I don't know about, because when world leaders actually get together or talk on the phone, or especially if they get together for a signing of something, all the work has already been done. They're just doing a formality, to take credit for everybody else's hard work. And but there's no reason for world leaders to talk unless there's something worth talking about, right? So there must be something there that Trump figures that is worth talking about. Because just asking for a ceasefire is not worth talking about. Russia's not going to agree to that. You see what I'm saying? So maybe there's something that we don't know about. So don't, just because I said there's no way in hell from what's been made public so far. We don't know what's going on in the background, because I don't see why Trump would talk to him otherwise. So no more boys and girls sports. Billions in waste, fraud, and abuse has been cut, and it's only been 6 weeks. Yeah, this is more of that Sergei Lavrov video. I'm not going to do that one. A break-in. Trump's education department just fired half its workforce. Mass layoffs are hitting federal bureaucrats today. You wanted GOP presidents to make a meaningful difference at DOE since the Carter years. Trump is finally doing it. Here are the details. Okay, let's get into this. 2, the people who've been ruining our kids' education for decades just got their walking papers. Security cleared out the building at 6 p.m. last night. Half the staff's getting fired. The other half can come back tomorrow after everyone's work product is examined. Make no mistake, this is Trump keeping his promise to destroy the federal education machine. He said it out loud and clear. Education belongs to the states. Lots of presidents have promised. Trump is delivering. Let me break down what's happening right now after the order from Secretary McMahon. Mass reduction in force. Notices sent. Building evacuation ordered. Security lockdown in effect. The house cleaning has begun. Draft executive order shows Trump's master plan. The experiment of controlling education through federal programs has failed our children. Trump should eliminate the education department. He can't, not without congressional approval. Here's what the enemy media don't want to tell you about the Department of Education. Bloated bureaucracy, endless redundancies, waste your tax dollars, failed our kids for decades, more interested in critical race theory than reading or math, which is racist. But even if you think the Department of Education helps kids, yeah, right. Remember when Elon Musk fired 80% of the Twitter staff? Yeah, I remember that. Everyone screamed disaster. Now it's the top news app in the worldwide. That's efficiency we need in the government. Think about it. Why do we need thousands of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. telling your local schools what to do? We don't. Standardized tests are one thing, and we don't need the deep state. Top-down dictatorial control and politicization of education is quite another. The left is already freaking out. How will they impose top-down indoctrination? How will they employ armies of unionized bureaucrats? But ask yourself, have our kids gotten smarter under federal control? Has education improved? Have test scores gone up? We all know the answer, and the answer is that we are the bottom. Remember when Trump said they rated countries 1 to 40? We're at 40, man. I mean, these kids, I think a lot of kids don't know how to read when they graduate high school. Bottom line, it's just the start, but firing half the staff is a great start. The education swamp is finally being drained. It's time to put education back in the hands of the states, communities, and parents. Trump is delivering where others talked. And then it goes on, and this, we gave you the name, it's Rod D. Martin. It's his post. I tell you, he's got some really great posts, and he puts it all in threads. If you don't know X, you can have just a post, or you can have a post with threads. And I finally figured out how to do it, but I've never done a thread. I don't know, it's simpler to just do a post. So this I do want to talk about this, because I'm an absolutist on free speech. And if you don't know about the student at Columbia University, he lost his case in court, and he's got it up for appeal because we were going to deport him for anti-Semitism. And everybody says, well, that's targeted, But I mean, if you think about it, he was over here on a visa. Now, so that makes you a guest of the United States, all right? So if I'm a guest let's say I go to Germany and I'm a guest of that country on a visa, do you think I'm going to come out and march with Nazis, saying that we got to bring back the Nazi party into Germany, and I'm going to be promoting that, and I'm going to head up a club on all of that? Because I'm over there as a guest of Germany, so Germany would probably get pissed off about that, or protesting something else, like I'm all for Russia, because obviously they hate Russia, right now. So if I was over there, marching for Russia, they'd probably just throw me out of the country. And that's what this guy did. He was marching for Hamas. Now, my feelings on the Israel and Hamas. I think that Hamas gets a bad rap, and I'm not sure that everything that Israel painted, well, I know for sure everything that they said that Hamas did on October 7th, a lot of it wasn't true. But anyway, so that's all I wanted to say, is born in Syria. I'll just read a little bit about this post. He was born in Syria to Palestinian parents with Algerian citizenship. Gets a security clearance from Britain, comes to the U.S. to organize protests. Are you seeing it yet? And then this is the post from Peter Orban. Mahmoud Kahal is tonight in a federal jail after Trump called him a radical foreign pro-Hamas student. A former Brit diplomat tells MIEE he worked for Britain on a flagship soft power policy and had security clearance. So now I'm not sure he needs to be in jail. They should have just put him out of the country. Oh, this is the one I wanted to get to. This is the video. So this is fantastic. Right now, as we speak today, U.S. aid is shredding and, oh, this is a different post. I'm sorry. I thought we were going to talk about that preacher, that woman, but this is a different one. Right now, as we speak today, U.S. aid is shredding and burning the contents of the agency's classified safes. The key information needed to reconstruct the history of U.S. aid's weaponization, both at home and abroad. This must be stopped. And then I've got a graphic right now. I got it in the video. It says, U.S. aid official tells remaining staffers, shred and burn all your documents. And I can't see the rest of it. It's in too small a print. But I'll let you read it because I don't want to get too deep into this. I want to get going on the video. In fact, we may have to do the rest of this. I got to get the preacher in here. Damn it. Where's that? Here we go. So another crook needs to be locked up. Yes, follow the money. It all makes sense now. Let's watch this one on that preacher that was lecturing Trump on the illegal aliens.
Remember her, Bishop Marianne Budde, who gave a sermon at the Washington National Cathedral the day after the inauguration, and in her prayer urged President Trump to, quote, have mercy on various groups, specifically illegal migrants. Well, it turns out that Bishop Marianne Budde's Episcopal Migration Ministries, EMM, during the Biden administration received $53 million from government programs for immigrant resettlement. And that is just 2023. The 2024 numbers haven't even been released yet. So my guess is she probably received back-to-back payments. And now it all makes sense why she said this in her sermon.
I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away.
She wasn't praying for them. She was praying for her bank account. You always have to follow the money.
All right, so there was that video. Let's see if I want to do this. I've been meaning to get this one out of the way because we're on corruption right now. Let's just keep going. Bombshell alert. Maryland grandma exposes Act Blue's dirty little secret. Cindy Noem, a sweet senior from Annapolis, Maryland, supposedly donated over 1,000 times to Act Blue in 2022. $18,849.77 total. That's 3 donations a day, every day, all year long. but when Oh My God asked her about it, Cindy dropped the truth bomb. No, I don't think so. I can't even believe she said, I don't think so. I would have said, oh, hell no. Anyway, so this is O'Keefe. If you don't follow O'Keefe, he's always bringing out these stories. He went undercover knocking on doors of elderly donors listed in the FEC records. Some tried to 200K plus in contributions. What they found will make your jaw drop. This is Act Blue running a shady money laundering scam. The evidence is screaming yes. Share this now. Let's blow the lid off this fraud. Let's watch that video.
FEC data shows that some senior citizens across the U.S. have been donating thousands of times per year. Some of these individuals' names and addresses are attached to over $200,000 in contributions. We went and knocked on a few of their doors to corroborate the data that we received. We're wondering if these donors are victims of what appears to be a money laundering scheme. Cindy No of Annapolis, Maryland, who in the year 2022 allegedly contributed over 1,000 times to Act Blue, totaling $18,849.77. That means Cindy would have had to donate 3 times a day, every day for the whole year. My name's James O'Keefe, and we're doing a story on the number of people that have donated. You did donate to Act Blue, right?
Once in a while.
What about $18,850?
No, I don't think so.
You know people are using your address?
I don't think so.
All right, so that was Keith on that video. And this, well, we'll get you one more because this doesn't, I didn't want to get into, there's a whole thread of Ukraine blowing stuff up, and we'll do that in the next video, even though it'll be somewhat dated, but at least the thread will still be relevant. because I want to finish the video off. We're getting a little long in the tooth here. The Kursk Bulb East Flank. Ukrainians have been driven out of the Podol settlement in the village of Melovoy. Northwind writes that the surviving Ukrainian armed force soldiers continue to put up fierce resistance. During the battles for the village of Melovoy, several groups of occupiers were destroyed, who did not even know that Zelensky and Sursky had organized retreat of the armed forces of Ukraine, and Sudzha has already been liberated by the civilians. And there was one other thing that I forgot to tell you about was, I guess, Sursky, he's the overall commander of the Ukrainian armed forces, and I don't remember where I saw it, but they said that he's relieved all of the commanders that were in charge of the Kursk invasion. So whenever you start doing that, well, number one, that's bad for morale, and that shows that things are kind of disintegrating in the Ukrainian military. So that's it for the video. We'll get that long stream in a future video. Let's peace out. Stay free. All right, we're on our way back. You know, I always think of things as I'm hiking. And there was 3 things that came up. I didn't realize they passed that continuing resolution bill in the House last night. I just heard that on the radio. So now it goes to the Senate. But the Democrats are going to vote it down for sure, which is, it's ironic. Remember when they used to, bitch at the Republicans, you're going to shut the government down, you have to pass this bill, and the Republicans always caved in. Hold on, let me switch hands with the dog leash here. There we go. That makes it a lot easier. And the Republicans always caved in, but you watch. The Democrats are the Borg, man. They are the hive mind. I bet there's not a single Democrat that's going to cross that line and vote for that continuing resolution. That's my prediction. You know, predictions, they're almost like a-holes, you know. Everybody's got one. But anyway, we'll see if I'm right. What was the other story? Daggone it. Anyway, I'll think of it here in a minute. Shoot. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of a brain dead dude, ain't I? Yeah, I remembered the 2 stories now. Sorry about that. Anyway, the big story on X was Trump. If you didn't know Thomas Massie, who I'm a huge fan of. I mean, I love Thomas Massie. I think he's great, man. And anyway, he voted against that continuing resolution. He was the only Republican, I believe. And as far as I know, I haven't checked the voting rolls, but he said, and so because he was going to vote against it and Trump wanted it, Trump said we should primary Thomas Massie. Well, that started a huge firestorm on X of people for and against. You got your Trump people that are 100% for Trump, saying, yeah, that's the right thing to say. And you got everybody else going, we're behind, Thomas Massie. It was just fun. I, of course, came out and for Thomas Massie myself and against Trump. But anyway, the other story is, if you ever heard of the law firm Patrick Cooey. Anyway, if you didn't know Pam Bondi, she revoked the security clearances of those 51 security people that said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. And so she suspended them. She also suspended Anthony Blinken and a couple other people in Biden's administration from security clearances. But the big one was, the law firm, Patrick Cooey, she suspended their security clearances. And so they immediately filed a lawsuit saying that, that would negatively impact their business. Now, if you want the history behind Patrick Cooey, they were responsible for all of the weaponization. They were the law firm that was used to weaponize the Justice Department and the FBI. Okay, they went after Trump's lawyers. I don't know if you remember, but especially Trump's lawyers that protested the election. Sidney Powell, who was the one that completely caved in, and she signed a piece of paper saying that she was guilty. I can't remember because I really liked her until she caved in. But I guess she didn't have a choice, because what you got to understand, you got to fight these lawsuits. And a lot of the Trump's lawyers, I hope he's going to make good on them now. They went bankrupt. They bankrupted them on purpose. This is an evil law firm, man. And so, you know, and a lot of them were just frivolous lawsuits. It's called lawfare. You know, suppose somebody sues you, okay? Whether this lawsuit is real or not, you still got to fight it. So not only is it a waste of your time, but in the case of this situation, it's a waste of money. Because, you know, you're not just fighting, like, if somebody sued me, I'd say, fine, let's go to court, you know, and whatever happens, happens. I don't mean it would depend on, you know, if they're suing me for $8 million, you know, which I would have to, I'd have to work till I was 300 years old, you know. Maybe then I might hire a lawyer, but more than likely it would just be in small claims court, you know, and you go in, present your case, and, you know, if you get a bad judge, you're screwed. Now, one little tidbit for you. If you ever in small claims court and something crazy happens, like happened to me, like they came in and said I had no standing because I was in the wrong court. Because it was a tax return that Jackson Hewitt, don't ever use them. Don't ever use Jackson Hewitt. Never, ever, 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 ever use Jackson Hewitt to do your taxes. But anyway, so they screwed up the law for my tax return so bad that it cost me another $1,500 to get it fixed. So I took Jackson Hewitt to small claims court. And now the office was based in Dearborn Heights where the tax return was done. But the main office for this, because every Jackson Hewitt office is a franchise. So you can't even sue the main company. You have to sue the franchise, okay? But anyway, the main office was in Livonia. I went to Dearborn Heights, the court there, the clerk, and I said, do I sue him here or in Livonia? And they said, oh, you sue him in Livonia. Well, Livonia said, no, you sue him in Dearborn Heights, and they threw the case out. Now, I didn't know, you can appeal that case. And I could have appealed it right away. But instead, it took me 3 weeks to find out, you know, what I could do. And I don't know who it was, may have been a lawyer, and he said, well, you needed to appeal it within like a short period of time, within like 2 weeks. And I was just outside that. And because I didn't appeal it, that verdict stood. And then, well, I could refile the case all over again and pay all the fees and everything. See, if you appeal it, you don't have to pay the fees again. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, this has just become a losing proposition. Plus, I was inconveniencing people. I had witnesses that, you know, took time out of their busy schedules to come. Anyway, I'm sorry I get into tangent stories, but I try to help you out and educate you. But anyway, I just thought that was an interesting story about the law firm that you probably didn't know. And so now, they lost on appeal. So some crazy judge that Mark Levin is talking about, another Obama, or I think it was an Obama judge that he put in there, and they said, no, the federal government can't revoke their security clearance. That's bullcrap, man. The executive branch can do what it wants. If they don't want lawyers with security clearances, that's up to the executive branch. Anyway, so that's where we are. We got a bunch of leftist lunatic judges all over the damn country, thanks to the Democrats. I don't know how we're going to fix the damn judicial system, but maybe someday we'll get them out. I had 2 other stories for you. So Rand Paul has said he's going to vote against that continuing resolution. So if you got him and all the Democrats voting against it, I don't see how that's going to go anywhere. And the reason he gave for doing that is he says it doesn't cut spending. He says we're just kicking the can down the road another 6 months, and that's what we keep doing as a party. And he says, you know, what's the point? You know, let's just shut the government down, you know, once and for all, and blame it on the Democrats. I agree with Rand Paul. I like his stance on it. Because you know, if you can't, Doge can't find enough corruption and waste unless we cut the spending. So it does no good to go in there and clean the government out if you don't cut the spending. So so that means we're still on the path to bankrupting the country. So for once, Rand Paul's right. You know, that's for sure. The other interesting story that I found out is there's actually a proposal in deep blue California for voter ID. Now, I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but it's on the floor of the legislature. And the reason it might get some traction is, believe it or not, the majority of the people in California are for voter ID. I'm surprised that the Democrats would be for voter ID, because how are they going to cheat? If you put voter ID in there, they're not going to be able to cheat. But I mean, it was a fairly, sorry, the dog stopped there. Oh, you don't want to see him now doing his thing. There you go. There he goes. Yeah, messing up my video, aren't you? Anyway, so, anyway, it was a large percentage. It was like a 70-30 for voter ID. So that's a positive sign. Maybe some Democrats are getting a brain cell in their head, or they're not all completely corrupt. You never know. I had to find that hard to believe. but who knows, you know. Wouldn't that be cool if we got voter ID in California? I guarantee you we'd pick up a bunch of Republican seats for sure. And then the governor, you know, someday might just be a Republican again. You never know. We can all dream, right? All right, check him out. There he is. There he is. If I try to get closer to him, he'll take off. Let's see if we can zoom in some more. Yeah, there we go. I can hold it pretty steady right here. Cool, huh? Yeah. Oh. Well, I'm going to try to get up on him, and we'll get a much more focused shot if he'll stay. Let's see. We'll see what happens here. I'm sure he's going to take off here in a minute. Oh, there he goes. Oh, well, that was fun. Hear him over in there? There he goes.